When pilot Kenneth Arnold reported seeing several strange aircraft in 1947, UFOs, or flying saucers, entered the public realm. Since then, UFOs have become mainstream. All over the world, UFOs have astounded and mystified the public, while creating heated debate and controversy. For over 50 years, Fredericton's Stanton Friedman has been investigating UFOs and the possibility of their existence. In that time, he has become one of the most respected and recognizable UFO investigators in the world.
Stanton, how do you react to James's differing?
I think that he started off with the conclusion that there are no flying saucers, there are no alien spacecraft. Anybody who thinks they've seen one is simply mistaken. He's a competent pilot. He knows. But you ought to talk to the guys at NARCAP, National Aviation Reporting Center for Anomalous
Long before Friedman appeared on shows like Larry King Live, his focus was nuclear physics. He earned his master's degree in 1956 at the University of Chicago. He then went on to work for companies like General Electric, Westinghouse, and General Motors.
There were exciting programs. There were classified nuclear airplanes, fission rockets, fusion rockets, nuclear power plants for space. And some of them were quite large. And I was working on nuclear airplanes for General Electric just outside Cincinnati. In 1958, we spent $100 million, employed 3,500 people full-time, of whom 1,100 were engineers and scientists. So it wasn't just a paper study. In other words, it was a massive effort.
Friedman's interest in flying saucers began in 1958, when he came across a book about the subject of UFOs.
I was ordering books from a discount book place in New York, and I needed one more book so I wouldn't have to pay shipping. I'm a cheapskate, really, when you get down to it. And so there was one, The Report on Unidentified Flying Objects by Air Force Captain Edward Ruppelt. It said he'd been head of Project Blue Book in the early 50s. Now, it was marked down from $2.95 to $1. Hardcover book, shows you how times have changed.
In 1967, after 9 years of investigation and research, Friedman made his first public lecture in Pittsburgh. He has done over 700 lectures since then, and has made many radio and TV appearances. In the late 70s, Friedman began investigating a UFO case that would put him in the international spotlight, a case simply known as the Roswell incident. The legend of the Roswell incident began in early July 1947, when the Army base in Roswell, New Mexico, told the media that they had found wreckage of a flying saucer. The Army quickly changed their story, however, and claimed that the so-called flying saucer was just a crashed weather balloon. The whole incident was quickly forgotten until Friedman got a tip from a TV station manager about 30 years later.
Out of the blue, he says, you know, the guy you ought to talk to is Jesse Marcel. And me being the great investigator I am, I said, who's he? His answer floored me. He said, oh, he handled wreckage from one of those saucers you're interested in when he was in the military.
Friedman was able to get Marcel to come forward with his story. After a year and a half of investigation, he found a total of 62 people connected with the incident, some of whom claimed to have seen wreckage and even alien bodies. In 1980, a book based on Friedman's investigation was published, and the story of Roswell lives on today.
It's the ultimate story. We not only see flying saucers in the sky, but they crash, and we recovered the bodies and the wreckage, and there's a government cover-up. What could be a bigger story than that?
Other popular cases Friedman has investigated include the Benny and Barney Hill abduction and the Majestic 12 documents. Friedman will add to his resume in June, when his new book is released to go with the 4 he has already written.
Basically, what we've done is take stupid things said by smart people and shown the consequences of their resistance to new ideas, new things. Some of them are pretty tragic, actually.
Friedman, born in America, has been living in Fredericton for about 30 years. So what do other residents think of Friedman and the subject of UFOs?
I think it's pretty cool that we have a well-known specialist, but a scientist for UFOs and stuff like that right here in the Maritimes.
Well, I think it's definitely a possibility that there are extraterrestrials. I mean, I very much doubt that we're alone in the universe. Really, when you take a look at all the systems, all the clusters and nebulas and whatnot, that there's bound to be something else out there.
I really don't know, and I don't think we do know. I wouldn't find it shocking to believe that they actually exist, that there are alien races. I find it a little harder to believe that they visited our planet.
My goal is to make people aware of the fact that man is not at the top of the heap, that we're not alone, that we should get rid of our arrogance coupled with our ignorance. We need to grow up and use our knowledge of science for the betterment of man.